Kate, you are back.
I'm here again. Okay.
You're here again. Thank you for coming in.
Yes.
Every time you come in, I just so enjoy the conversation. I mean, obviously a huge supporter of foster care and children, and God bless you, woman, you're back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be here and share with you again.
Listen, a lot has happened since we connected last time. And again, just to give people background, you were the founder, but are you the executive director for Foster and Heart? Okay, great. So you're the executive director of Foster and Heart. Do you have still at two homes?
Yeah, we have two homes open still, Mimi's and Bubba's.
That are predominantly focused on keeping sibling groups together, because that was essentially your origin story from your own foster care journey, which is you were lucky enough and blessed to get this foster care child, and then you realize it was like one of four other children. Yeah. And the mom actually happened to be pregnant at the time as well. So you get the one kid and you're a single gal living in a 2-bedroom like townhouse. And you're like, well, let's get the other one.
Yes.
It's like
pretty much
the other kid and the other kid. And then before you know it, you have all 5 siblings together with like this infant baby. And that was a huge problem within, and continues to be a huge problem within the adoption and foster care, not industry, but field, which is, hey, you have family units, and these family units are being torn apart, and then from sibling to sibling, they're getting separated. And can we do something about that?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and obviously we know that, a sibling bond is super important to children. And when kids come into care, they're already, being removed from everything they've ever known, their school, their home, their neighborhood, everything. So we just focus on keeping sibling groups together if at all possible, because they're the ones that understand everything they're going through. They're their support system. They're their sense of security. And, the department, no fault of their own, maybe doesn't have a home that's willing to take on 5 children in the middle of the night.
Right.
So our whole purpose is to be a safe place for them to come to while the department finds the right home that can take all of the sibling groups as a whole, and they don't have to go through that trauma of being separated.
So then ultimately what they're doing is looking for a permanent solution, right?
Yes.
Like somebody who's down to adopt. Is there
potentially? Well, when kids come into care, the initial goal is always reunification. We're always walking that, case plan of getting the kids back in their homes, supporting the families, making their homes a safe place. So there is a process. And so that initial goal is to find a family that would walk that process with that family, support them to get their kids back. And then at a certain time frame, the goal will change if it's not possible for the family to get their children back.
If it's not compatible.
Yeah. And honestly, they work really hard with families. It's not just like, oh, you didn't do something. They really try. And that is the goal. We want healthy, whole families here in Idaho. And so that's the focus. But at some point, if they can't, then the goal changes to permanency for that child, because the goal also would be to get them in a permanent home as soon as possible. So when they move from us to what we call a general foster home, that foster home is accepting that sibling group and also accepting to work that process to get them home.
Gotcha. So you guys are that emergency step, which is like, hey, middle of the night, you got 3 siblings, they need somewhere, and you guys accept them, and you have food, you have we
got beds ready for them,
everything, and you integrate them so to lessen the burden of an obviously very traumatic experience for these kids.
And all the kids, when they walk through the doors, that's the first thing they say. I'm so thankful that I get to stay with my siblings, especially when you have like large span, like a young sibling, let's say like a 2 or 3-year-old, and then you have like a 15 or 16-year-old. That 16-year-old has probably been caring for that 2-3-year-old, this whole time. And so if you remove that 2 or 3-year-old, that is terrifying for that 16-year-old to be like, where did my sibling go? And a lot of times people aren't willing to take on teens. That's a harder, idea to process for families. They just assume a teen is going to be bad or is going to bring all this thing into their homes. But, it's very traumatic for that teenager to not be wanted with their 2 or 3-year-old sibling, if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah. And it's heartbreaking. 100%. And so when that teenager walks in with their younger siblings, maybe it's 1 or 2 or 3, that weight is lifted off of them, that they get to be with their sibling. And they always are so thankful. Thank you for keeping us together. That's the first thing they thought of. Am I going to be separated from them?
Man, the baby. You guys can't see it, but we have the comms person, an event person here, and she brought her baby. I love babies.
I know. I mean,
they're the best.
She is our little, what's the word I'm looking for? She's like the mascot. Her name's Goldie. I mean, we love Love her.
Love
She's got to go. Goldie goes with us where we go. Okay.
I really wanted to have 4 kids. I actually really enjoy babies. I like kids at all levels. I was very blessed. I don't have a phase that I've gone through. I'm like, oh, I'm not like a 3-year-old phase kind of dad. It's like, no, man. Like I'm down
for it all.
From infant, like footballing the kid around the house, all the way to toddler. Like, hey, dude, check out this rock. To like, the 5-year-old of like, oh, you want to? Let's party. We're going to the park. It is go time.
It's time to wrestle.
Take
them down.
Yeah, and I have my oldest right now is 13. I have 3 boys, and the oldest is 13, and we're also at the point I'm taking a trip with him alone. Like we're flying and then we're driving back, and it's gonna like he's planning out everything. He's like, oh, can we stop by like there's this bakery that he really likes called Bordnavi's, and like not bakery like Danishes, but like loaves of bread. He's like, oh, can we go to Bordnavi's? I'm like, yeah, bud. Yeah, no problem, man. And he's like, okay, and can we also get Mongolian beef? Because like, as you know, we don't have great Mongolian beef options here.
He's like, I got to get those. And isn't it fun as a parent to like meet those desires that your children have? Like simple, done. We will go to those places because you want that. I'll meet that need.
How frequent? I had this conversation last night with my 8-year-old because my older boys are in water polo and my wife plays water polo as well. And she had taken the 2 older boys to, go to water polo. And I was hanging out with the 8-year-old and, he was like, hey, can we go shoot the BB gun? I'm like, yeah, bud. Like, let's go and walk, shoot the BB gun and running around. And he's like, hey, can we go to the park? I'm like, yeah, man, let's go. So we go home and like go to the park, take him. And I was having the conversation on the way home because, 8-year-olds, like later at night, like they hit a point where they're just exhausted and they lose it. And like, no matter what you do, they're inconsolable. Yeah. And he was just in a fantastic mood last night. And I was like, dude, like, look at how much fun we can have if we just work together. Mm-hmm. And it's a tough conversation to have with a 2nd grader, right? Obviously. But I feel like my oldest, the 13-year-old, is at the point where it's like, he gets it. It's like, listen, let's just fly straight. Let's take care of our responsibilities. We got to clean the kitchen. We got to do these things. But then like, I'm down to party. Like then we can have fun. And that's where you hit like the level 2 adult fun, which is fun integrated with responsibility into life.
Come on.
Right?
Yes. That's good parenting right there.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Let's not get crazy. You got to consider who you're dealing with. But yeah, like I think that's it. I mean, like you have fun with your 5 kids plus the one you foster. Like you have fun. You've always been a woman and a person that I've seen that is filled with joy. But the crushing obligation and responsibility that you also must feel, it's like you have to find that joy in the burden. Yeah,
you still got to brush your teeth while you're having, you still got to do the things that you need to do. Brush your hair. Yes, I try to have fun every day. We were out, my kids and I were outside last night just flying kites, riding bikes, and we live in a little, like a cul-de-sac too. Yeah. And then it was
kites, by the way, a $10 kite. I love that.
Actually, Costco has the best kites.
They have like the fishing reel kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
no more
best, high quality, best kites. And we're out doing that, having fun, riding bikes. And I'm just like, forget, oh yeah, they have school tomorrow. And the sun comes down and I'm like, yeah, there's no other neighbors out. I'm like, oh my gosh.
10 o'clock?
It's Tuesday. We got to get you guys to bed. Yeah, that's the kind of mom I am. So, I try to be responsible, but we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, you got to. And with that, I mean, obviously, Foster and Heart is a community-supported and grant-supported nonprofit, right? And it is this joyous engagement that you have, but it requires support, right? And your origin, tell people about your origin story again with like deciding you're going to do this and having anxiety and making the declaration. Because it's like, hey guys, we're going to do this. And people are like, awesome, like here. And you're like, yes. Wait, what do we do?
100%. So Vieira, who's here right now, is the one I brought the idea to her and she's like, let's do it. So she is a videographer. We made this video. We put it out there to our church. And
this is, again, when you had started fostering, right?
I had already adopted my kids by the time we put it out there. So I always say like the weight of the unknown was lifted once I adopted my children. And then I was like, okay, there's a bigger picture here that we can help more kids stay together. So the idea came to open one home And so we're like, okay, let's put together this video. We don't even know what we're doing. We're just like, here's an idea. I talked to some people at the department. What really happens? Do kids sit in offices? Yeah, all this stuff. And so we're like, okay, it's true. Let's just put it out there. People were like, at the department, were like, that's a great idea. Go for it. So we put it at our church. And I'm like, yeah, you never know. This could work or it could flop. I have no clue. And right away, we raised like $40,000 that first time we put it out there. And I was like, look at Vera. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to work. So now we're like, how do you start a nonprofit? Like after we got the money, we're like, oh my gosh, we actually got it. So
it worked.
Then it took us, then we were like, oh, we actually have to write, hundreds and hundreds of policies and procedures. So it took us 2 years.
Bylaws you got to do.
Yes. It took us a long time.
Can I just tell you that the juxtaposition of your entrance into the nonprofit world and like all this support and not getting it, like you're like, we haven't even done this and people are supporting it.
Yeah.
The exact opposite in Mike. Like if you go to somebody, you're like, hey, I got it. I'm going to start a nonprofit to support a podcast that'll support Idaho. Like crickets. You wouldn't even finish the sentence. Like if you, the second you hit podcast, people are like, whoosh, like they're gone. In the old school cartoons where there's just a cloud and a vacuum empty space where the person used to be, like that's so awesome. Again, you tell people your intent. You've already gone through the adoption yourself. You're like, hey, there's a path forward. Overwhelming community support. But then of course it's like, okay, rubber hits the road. Like now we got to do this.
So it took us almost 2 years to write all those policies. But in the meantime, like, okay, we got to do something. What can we do right now? So we did what we call an interest night. And we bring in, social workers, safety workers, foster parents, bio parents, former foster youth, and give like an overall perspective of what to expect when you sign up to become a foster parent. And then give them also opportunities and ways to get involved if you're not in that season to become a foster parent. We just have the view of like everybody can make a difference in someone's life. We're all in different seasons of life, right? So people can either volunteer with us, they can donate financially or items, or you can actually sign up to become a foster parent. So we kind of started that. We're like, okay, we got to start somewhere. We can't wait until this is ready. So we started that. And I just was like, the first time we put on the interest night, like 90 people showed up. Again, I was like, this is 2020, right? I'm like, this is going to work.
It's going to work.
This is amazing. And it was so cool. It was an incredible night. And everybody just bringing their expertise and their personal experience to really shine that light on what foster care is like. Because when I started, I really didn't understand the whole idea of supporting the bio parents. I remember when I got my first foster daughter and I went in and met her mom, and my heart just broke for her. Like, so I always try to put myself in that position. I can't imagine as a mom, your kids being removed, even if your home life was crazy and you were doing stuff, having no clue where your kids are would just be terrifying. So I always every time I get a new child in my home, I always put myself in her shoes. Like, what would that feel like? And I want to make her at least feel as safe as she can and comfortable as she can. And so I'm always like, hey, my name's Kate, like just reach out to her, make her feel safe. So anyways, the interest nights were just designed to kind of give that overall perspective of what foster care is like. And that, sometimes people just fall on hard times. They're not horrible people because their kids are removed. Sometimes they just fell into a really bad situation. And so it's an honor to support them and help them get back on their feet. So, and a lot of times people won't become foster parents because they're, I'm going to get attached. And it's true. Every single kid I love as my own, but it's an honor also to walk that process with the bio family. If, they have to put in the work and they have to do the things they're supposed to do. But when a child goes home, it's pretty amazing to see that happen too.
Oh. The thing you, excuse me, said at the end, my dad adopted 7 kids after me. Mm-hmm. And he went through throughout that whole time, because it was a long time frame, he had fostered with the intent of adopting several kids, and I remember one in particular. And the pain that I saw him go through when I was a young person, right? I think I was like 15, seeing him and my stepmom go through this, where there was this, intention to adopt, the parents had signaled they wanted, and then like the last day, they were like, no, give me the kid back. And it was really heartbreaking, even as, you know, a young person, to see my dad go through that.
Yeah.
And, you know, my parents were divorced, and so I wasn't living full time with them and going through the entire experience. But like, how do you come through that?
Yeah.
Like, how do people go through that and then find their way to making themselves, and I know it's an overused term, but engaging in that level of vulnerability again. Where
Yeah.
it's like you open your house, you open your heart
Yes.
to this other human, and like that you bring them into your village, right?
Yeah.
Your safe space, and then have that, you know, go the way it does. And like, yes, it's wonderful, the idea of reunification, like that's going to be the best for the kid, but also like, how do people recover from that?
Wow, that's a very good question. I know some people don't. To be honest, I think a lot of people do end up quitting foster care because the devastation of a child leaving their home. My perspective is, and you know, this is just how I view it. If a child goes home, my goal is always to walk that process with that child, whatever that looks like. Is it 3 days? Is it a year? Is it forever? Whatever that is, I want to be used by God in their life to walk that process with them. And so, yes, your heart does break when they go home, but then I just view it as like there's some child out there that needs me. And that's what I want to be open and ready and willing to not wallow in that, but like allow space for another child to come in. And I will say this too, when you work really well with the bio families, your relationship changes, but they're not gone forever. Like it's just a different relationship, babysitting kids, seeing them out in the community, getting together with them. It's like, I always say my kids have like 90 siblings out there that have come through our home. But you know, when you work really hard to build that relationship with the bio families, they're not gone. It's just a different relationship. And there's some other kid out there that needs you. But I do know for a fact, people end up leaving or quitting being a foster parent because the devastation is so hard.
When you talk about feeling like God using you,
Yeah.
right? What is there a, my story of my life is very me-centered, right? And I've realized this as of late. It's like, oh, like I'm my own hero in my own, like, you know, journey, right? And you know, you notice things about yourself and it's like, oh, that's interesting. Like that is really how I kind of view, you know, my thing. I'm on this like journey and I'm this guy, right? And there's I don't mean to be harsh, but like there's a narcissistic and self-centered aspect to that. Now that's not surprising. It's not like I'm the only one in the world who like views my story as like, oh, I'm the most important, you know, but do you think that that's something that allows you to do harder things when you realize like, hey, it's not about me. Like I'm being used for or engaged for this higher purpose. So you can engage in something from a less, you know, woe is me standpoint. Like it's not about my feelings. It's not about my success. It's not about my story. It's about this person's story. It's about me being a tiny, tiny piece for this brief period of time. And focusing on that story, focusing on that person's development instead of envisioning, you know, like, oh, I envisioned my life with this person a year down the road or 10 years down the road, or I envisioned my life like giving this person away at a wedding or something like that, where it's like, it's not about your life. Like this was never about your life. Do you think that's something that gives you kind of strength and resilience in this endeavor?
Absolutely. That is what keeps me going because I have my focus on Jesus. And I also think I just always tell people this, at least in the Christian world, like if you want to be the hands and feet of Jesus, the place to be is in the foster care system because, you know, there's people who are struggling with addiction, people who are broken, down and out, homeless, all these things that people in the church pray, you know, God encounter these people. Well, I get to go and be in like a representation to his love to them, whether they know it or not. And so like we've had so many, even bio parents start coming to church and realizing like, you know what the world needs is hope. And I believe the hope of the world is Jesus. And so I get to be that hope or represent hope to people. And I think there's something powerful to come alongside a mom, especially. I mean, I will support dads, you know, but really it's the mom that I really connect with and bond with and just being like, you've got this. Yes, we all go through devastation in our life where we feel like it's over, it's done. And I can only imagine a mother feels like that because I'm going to cry. But like, I want to be there for her and be like, you've got this. You can do this. You can overcome. You can do everything you need to. Your life is not over. You're not done. And your kids need you. And so that's an honor, I feel like, to do that and walk alongside a woman. I was at the department and I saw this woman put her baby in the car and I don't even know her. And instantly my heart just broke for her. You really do have to put aside your own desires and be like, okay, my heart broke for her. And I wanted to go up to her and be like, just give her a hug. I'm just going to give you a hug, but I didn't, But I just am like, I just want you to know someone out there believes in you and you can do this. You can overcome this. So yeah, I definitely think like having that perspective puts aside your desires, your wants, and your needs. And is it hard? Yes. There have definitely been moments where I'm like, I am done. And then the next day I'm back. I'm done for the next 5 hours.
Yeah. I just gotta go to bed.
I'm never fostering again. But then you get back to it. And it's really the kids that keep you going. Every single one of them comes with a story. Every one of them is beautiful and amazing. And, you just want to love them through it. So, yeah, I definitely think you have to put aside. And, my kids love it too. My kids love it. If we get a call for a 7-year-old in the middle of the night, they're jumping up and they're so excited. Like, obviously not in the middle of the night, they're sleeping. But like, whatever, 8:00 at night, they're like making the bed. They're getting ready for this child. So I feel like also seeing something my kids and I can do together as a family, it's like a ministry. And so teaching them to also put aside themselves and care for others.
Yeah. And again, I'm a dad, right? And if a horrible situation befell me and you and I didn't connect because you connected with more, I wouldn't take that personally. But what I can tell you is that I got really concerned about a few years back. I started really looking at the plight of men, older men, middle-aged and older in our society. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. Like outside of my jiu-jitsu community, I don't have friends. Like, I don't just make friends. And I know, I observe this with myself. It's like, oh, you can't, like, you're not good at just having friends for friends' sake. Like, you're not good at just socializing for socializing's sake. And some of my friends within the jiu-jitsu community, I'm like, hey, outside of this, do you have friends? They're like, oh yeah, my buddy Steve at work. I'm like, no, that's a coworker. You might be friendly with your coworker, but like outside of here, do you have friends? And they're like, no, I don't. And again, that got really concerning to me because it was like, okay, what do men have then? What is it? And a student of mine, this guy Hugh, who was great. I love this kid. I helped him as much as I possibly could. His story was kind of similar to mine, growing up in a kind of lower end community, and was able to get into a very, very high end thing. He went to Yale for athletics, like he was on the lacrosse team. He was awesome. Anyway, he told me one day that he had this neighbor, parents the family had gotten divorced, and the dad, like people get divorced all the time. And the dad, the weekend before, just drove off a bridge. And
wow.
As we're having this conversation, I'm recounting this, and it's like, yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. Like if somebody took my kids away, and it would be really hard for me to want to see the next day. It'd be really hard for me as a dad to be like, yeah, there's a reason to keep going, and that's in an everyday happening of divorce. If there was trauma within my family and people had to step in and like, I have to take your kids for your kids' sake, like I would have no armor against that. It would be, and to understand that there are community members and groups that are like, look, we're going to walk with you to get your kids back. It's not about us. It's not about our future and our desire to have a child. It's about us trying to help this human and you as a human get reunified. That is just, it's such an important thing. I think I personally know there are groups that are very anxious within the Idaho, communities about CPS showing up and like taking their kids and stealing them all. And people that, there are organizations that get together. It's like, this is how you fight CPS and this is how you stop these things from happening. It's like, okay, like that's fine. I don't, I get it. Like the anxiety is real. The struggle is real, but also knowing it's like, yeah, but the flip side of that is You have people that are working with you,
Mhm.
trying to help
Yeah.
you, whatever the situation is. Like they're working to get kids back together with their biological
Yeah.
parents.
Well, and people have this negative view when a child comes into care. They don't know the story, right? They will know nothing. And they'll say, I hope you get to keep that kid. And I'm like, you don't even know. They could have just had, what if lost job, whatever, something just bad happened. They're living in whatever it is. It could have been just fell on a bad circumstance and their kid's removed. And you're going to say, you hope I keep their kid? Like, no. That's why I want to educate people too. Like, we're here to support families. Now, on the flip side, there are definitely families or situations where like, that looks terrible, really, really bad, horrible situation that, you're like, I don't know if that child's ever going to go home because it's bad. So, but I don't know that in the beginning. And I don't know, that's not my job to make them do what they have to do. I just support them through it. So if they can get it together and get all the things that they need to do, I want to be that voice that's supporting them. And hopefully they, God can use me to be that one that's like, she believed in me. I heard this quote. We just went to a conference.
And if I may, just real fast, and I want to 100% quote conference to tack onto that. I do a lot of work in tech safety and trying to educate parents and
Yes.
the whole thing, right? Because tech safety is a huge problem, and especially since we pass out tech via schools all day long, every day. It's like, hey, can somebody just warn everybody and help educate parents? And my partner in this is Officer Gomez, Deputy Gomez, right? He's great.
Yeah.
We're actually doing an informational night tomorrow night, which is going to be fantastic for this school. He'll drive an hour and a half, and just no fee, just come and talk about tech safety and he's a beautiful human. But in all of our interactions and working together, he's shown me pictures. He's like, this is a family of 7.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally a picture of a tough shed with a chair with a hole cut out and a bucket underneath it. He's like, that's their bathroom. There's no electricity. There's no running water. They're in a tough shed. It'll probably get repoed in 6 months. They're living in absolute squalor. And he interacts with these people. He showed me another picture. He was like, this is the family's lodgings. And it was 2 tents in a field. And he was like, they have 2 kids. So there are 2 parents, 2 kids, winter's coming.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, what do we do? What do we do with that information? Like, how do we help this family? And if you're a 5-year-old and you're living in a tent in Idaho in the winter, like, how do we support you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't want to take you away from your parents, but do we leave you in sub-freezing temperatures in a tent?
Yeah.
You're like, what is, and not like big multi-room tents. We're talking like the pop-up tents.
Yeah.
Nothing. So when you talk about tough situations, it's like, even if you want to take out drugs, alcohol, abuse, like, you have people living in horrific situations where you have to wonder as a state and as a community, it's like, do you let the 5-year-old continue sleeping in that tent?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or do you step in?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you were saying a quote.
Yeah.
From
I just was, we went to a conference, just like 2 weeks ago, and department workers and a bunch of different organizations were there, and it was amazing. And they brought in this woman who grew up in foster care. And she said, you can either be like, as a foster, you could be, when that child's older, you could either be the person that influenced them in a positive way or be the reason they had a negative experience in foster care. And that really hit me really hard, because I want to be that person that positively impacted their life. But not only me, like our organization, how did we positively impact their life for the better? And so that's kind of always my goal in mind, is like, I just want to be like, they look back and be like, oh yeah, Kate, Foster and Hart, they believed in me. They provided for me. They encouraged me. We've had kids age out where it's like, no, your past doesn't define you. You may have grown up in foster care, but you can still do incredible things with your life. Don't let the past define you, and move forward and do incredible things. And so that's where I want to be. I want to be used by God to be that positive person in every child's life that I meet.
How many people have come through your 2 homes?
Oh, geez. Probably around 200 kids have come through in the 2.5 years we've been open.
And how many sibling groups does that represent? Like 100-ish?
Probably Probably. Yeah, because we do take single kids.
Yeah, sure. And then larger groups. So it like averages out.
Yeah. So we take larger sibling groups, and then, we take single children who need places to stay too. And my heart is always like, if they call you for a kid, you're like, if we have an open bed, I want to be able to help support that child and make sure they have somewhere to sleep that night. But yeah, probably around 200 kids have come through.
And when they get there, like every one of those 200 kids gets, like your instantaneous emergency care package.
Yeah,
like
what we call essentials.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we bring a duffel bag filled with a week's worth of supplies for them. So most of the kids, everyone has that picture of the trash bag, right? In our experience,
what are you
like a kid walking through your door with a trash bag full of supplies. But in reality, most of them walk through the doors with just the clothes they have on. So we have what we call the Essentials Project, and we fill a week's worth of essential items. So clothing, toiletries, comfort items like a blanket, stuffed animal, depending on their age, art projects. Sometimes there's toys in there. And we bring those to the kids, and they get to open this bag and their faces light up. And everything's brand new. That's our goal, is that they get to pull that tag and feel that value and worth. Like, yeah, you may have just gone through a horrific situation last night, but here is some stuff to brighten your day. And so we do that not only with our kids in our homes, but in a general foster home. If they text a number we put together this bag and deliver it to the doors so that they can, it's a lot bringing a kid through your doors and adjusting. And we just like to lighten the load a little bit, but also brighten the day of that child. And that's a way the community can get involved practically, is either, donating money to us so that we can go out and purchase these items, or they can actually buy the items. Some people just like to go shopping. If you want to buy
200 toothbrushes and drop them off.
Yeah. Or you want to buy underwear and socks for us of all different sizes, bring it. We have a big, huge Essentials Drive project that we're happening on May 1st at the 10 Mile Walmart.
I had no idea.
Yeah, we'll be there.
May 1st.
Yeah, May 1st.
10 Mile Walmart.
10 Mile Walmart. We'll be there from 5 a.m. till 6 p.m. We partnered with Channel 2 News and then KTSY and 88.7, the two Christian radio stations. And we'll be on air, and the news will come out and interview us. And there's tons of people coming to give. And realistically, we can't do what we do unless we have community partners that come alongside us and support what we do. So we are so grateful for every person that gives anything and makes it possible for us to bless children in care.
And so you have the essentials. You
Yes.
have, at the houses, you have 24-hour staff.
Yes. Yep. 24-hour staff. The person on, this is something that, people probably don't know, but our graveyard staff is up all night because we get calls at midnight, 2 a.m. Also, they have to meet the needs of the kids. Kids coming in, it's traumatic. Sometimes kids can't sleep. And so we have staff that's there just to meet those needs every moment of the night.
You have the staff, you have the emergency essentials, you have like commercial style kitchens, where you're feeding everyone, obviously. And again, this is all coming from community support. Mm-hmm. Like these houses, you guys put in the work, but it represents genuinely like a community coming together to say, hey, our children, our community's children, maybe not my kid, maybe not your kid, but our community's children deserve to have something.
Yeah.
Like this, a really, and again, I learn all the time on the show, which is really embarrassing because some things are said and it's like, of course, why didn't you know that? Like, of course, that's the way. But one thing that an educator actually told me was like, listen, the whole point of public education is to produce a better community. I'm like, yeah, everybody knows that, but like, what does that mean? It means, he was like, listen, it means that like how many computer science PhDs do you know that happen to be into illicit substances, crime, and like, let's say, trafficking stuff? It's like, oh, none. He's like, of course, because they have alternatives to those base things. He's like, if you remove the computer science degree, if you remove literacy, if you remove all of these different things, you're going to whittle down the number of options that people have down to like the most base things that they could possibly offer a community to survive. And understanding that, as ridiculous as it is that I didn't get that initially, understanding that it's like, okay, so this is why we have programs for like adult literacy. This is why we have programs to support parents with, like anger management and reunify them. Like, this is why we have things, because it's like, look, if you don't help people get options and figure out, if you don't teach a man to fish, he's not going to be able to fish, right? And that's going to be bad, because then to eat, he's going to steal your fish, right? Like, he's going to do a bunch of different things. And this is the same kind of thing in my mind, which is, it's at the end of the day, if you have a community that has a lot of young people that have gone through horrific foster experiences, or they've had horrific experiences where their parents they weren't supported by the community, we're going to have these children that have had a really rough life. They haven't had continuity with nutrition. They haven't had continuity and safety with safe adults. They haven't had all these things. Who do you think they're going to be when they're 20? Like, they're not going away. They're going to stay here, and they're just going to have a lifetime of hurt and pain. And they're not going to have great options to integrate successfully into our community in a pro-social manner. You're going to end up with like maladaptive, antisocial behavior that leads to, as we all know, really, really bad outcomes for adults.
Yeah. Well, we know that in foster care, it's a generational thing. A lot of times the kids you get, their parents were in foster care. So that tells me that their parents, the grandparents, didn't get the support they needed, because the cycle repeated itself. So what if we break it now with this new generation of kids? We can break that cycle for them, that their kids aren't going to be in care. That's a big win.
That's a huge win.
Again, going back to the community supporting them, like, we can accomplish a lot when we have support from people around us.
Like, what's the ROI if you grab a 10-year-old and you're able to secure them in a safe place and transition them through, let's say, a difficult year of their life, and they get reunified with their parents in a successful manner. And from 10 to 11, it was on you. And the community and people supported the family, and the family got it back together. And then from 11 to 18, when the kid theoretically graduates high school and moves on, that person is not now damaged by that 10, substantially or irreparably damaged by that 10 to 11 year. What's the ROI for the community? Like, how much, like, return on investment? What's the return on?
I don't know what an ROI.
But think about that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the community should consider. Like, how much benefit do we get selfishly from having an 18-year-old who was rescued and supported from 10 to 11 and then reintegrated? What's the return there? As opposed to somebody who was not either reintegrated with a family, who was not given safe and consistent care and security and nutrition. Like, what? Like, well, you have a completely different person at 18.
Yeah, and the statistic is for like a male who ages out of foster care, what is it? 70% of them end up in jail. 70% of females end up trafficked. So yeah, if you get the support to that child from 10 to 11 and get the tools to that child, but not only them, but their parents. So when something bad happens again, they know how to access tools or community support again. Yeah, you're not going to see an 18-year-old that's going to
get trafficked or engage in crime.
Yeah, because they're going to want better for their life. They're going to become a productive citizen in the community. And you know what? Another thing, and I just got chills thinking of this. So many of our young people say, I want to make a difference. I want to go back. I want to speak to that. I just, turned 18. I want to go back to that 14-year-old and tell her, don't do this. There's better for you. These people want to love you through it. They want to support you. I just was talking to my friend who is in the process of adopting 2 teens. And it literally just the most beautiful thing. She has this teenage girl who probably 2-3 years ago was kind of looked at like, oh, nobody wants her, in the sense of how she was acting, right? How she was responding to things. She was going through a horrible situation and was reacting or responding in a negative way. So she had this negative view of her. Well, this friend of mine took a chance on her. You would not even recognize this child right now. And she told her foster mom, who is going to be her adoptive mom, she's going to be with for forever, that she can look back to 2-3 years ago and be like, I don't even recognize myself. But I can tell you, I was just acting that way because I was hurt. And I want to be able to tell foster parents, don't give up on your kids. They're hurt. Give them a chance. Love them. Again, I don't know. I always go back to that saying, you got to love them through it. Because on the other side of that, when you stick by them, you don't give up on them, you get to see that child completely turn around. And now her passion is she wants to go back and speak to kids. She's like, do I have opportunity that I can go and tell that 13-year-old, that 14-year-old, you're going to make it and you're going to be successful and you're going to overcome this. That's the most beautiful thing, is when we get to see those kids go back and make a difference in other kids' lives because they've been through it. And that's powerful for those kids to hear it.
You gotta love people.
Yes.
Through the hurt. Like
Yeah.
I've never been a foster parent, but I have been a community member, and I am struggling really hard to remind people, like, look, I moved from out of state. Okay. I make no qualms about that, 100%. And I've spent the last 3 years of my life trying to understand what Idaho is and trying to help other people convey that. I appreciate that.
You're doing a great job.
But one thing that I'm also trying to do is help people realize how hurt the people moving here are. They feel betrayed. They feel hurt. They feel like the community turned their back on them when something bad happened. And like there was this ridiculous, I won't get into it, but there are so many cases where it's like, if you knew the hurt that person experienced, and again, these aren't little children, right? These are adults, and they move here and they're hyper reactionary. They're totally flipped out. I had a friend actually get a hold of me and was like, dude, what is with all of the old, like the California transplants? These people are nuts. And he was like, no offense to you. I'm like, listen, none taken. But I will tell you, if you had gone through what they went through, you would be different too. And it's like, and again, I'm not justifying what people do, because I think there's a lot of bad behavior that is reactionary, that is a response to something that happened somewhere else with someone else, and they're taking it out on this community. Like and that's not good. Okay. But also understanding, look, these people are hurt. Like they're hurt and they moved here and they're upset, and they're not here to just ruin your day. They're responding to things as normal human beings did. And the idea should not be to make it like to other them, be like, you're just a crazy. It's like, no. These are our neighbors now. Right. Like I really want to do a series called Your Neighbor from California. Because great. I think having people hear the stories about why people moved and what they've been through, if you knew that, like you would have a different view of people. And again,
same with foster care.
Yes. That's why it's like, this is like, you gotta love people through it.
Yeah. And you see that behavior or that trauma or that unfolding in front of you, but you don't know what happened over here and the things they've been through. And you need to give them grace here because of what happened in the past, And a lot of times foster kids, they have this narrative, when they call you, they're like, okay, this kid's done this. And I always joke because I'm like, I know I look bad on paper too. Single mom of 5, but then you hear my story, it might not be that bad, but that's the same with the kids. Like
I love that you didn't dismiss it. You're like, it might not be that bad. I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm a hot mess.
It's crazy, but it might not be that. I just think like a single mom of 5, that's a lot. There's a lot of stuff happening there. What's going on? But then you hear my story. I've adopted kids. Yeah. It just looks a little different once you hear the true story.
Still crazy.
Yeah, yes, I will take crazy. I like a little crazy,
A little crazy.
But the same with kids in care. You see what their reaction and how they're responding in this very moment. You don't know the horror that happened to them just 6 months ago, a year ago. And you got to give them grace to love them through that. And they're going to come out on the other side.
Look, I know today's a working day. You came in. I think I've taken more time than I intended. You have a gala coming up. That's why I wanted to get a hold of you initially.
Yep.
Talk to me about the gala.
So it's our second gala. You said gala. No.
Isn't it
It's a gala. How do you say it? Gala?
Gala. Okay, fine.
Sorry, you said it.
I said gala for sure.
I thought maybe it's a California thing.
Okay,
gala.
But the two A's are separated only by one consonant, which means that you go hard vowel first, right? Like gate, G-A-T-E. The E is the vowel.
You're correct, is what you're saying.
I'm saying that I think there is gala would be like G-A-L-L-A, right?
Oh, look at you educating.
Well. SAT tutor.
So gala.
But that's not always true, because you have The point is, I think you can make the argument both ways. Okay.
So the gala,
the event that I got it. The event formerly known as the gala.
Yes, formerly known as the gala is coming up May 10th. It's the night before Mother's Day. We figured, husbands out there, take your wives out on an exciting, fun night. It is amazing. I'm telling you, I have the most incredible team. I cannot take any credit for this. They're incredible, have put together the most amazing night. I promise if you join us and come, it is a night to remember. It starts.
Again, what's the time?
May 10th.
May 10th.
Doors open at 5:30.
May 1st at the Walmart.
Yes.
The 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's
5 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're there all day. Come party with us. Have
awesome.
fun.
That's May 1st. May 10th. This is the party.
This is the actual party.
Party.
So it's at the Boise Center downtown. The doors open at 5:30. The event actually the program starts at 7. Obviously, dinner, auction. We have incredible auction items. I'm telling you again, I'm giving credit. We have an incredible gala committee, incredible team put together on an amazing night. One of the things that kind of sets us apart from all the other galas that go on throughout the year is we do sneakers. Kicks for kids is what we call it. So you get to dress up, look amazing, but you get to be comfortable too. And the reason we do that is because all of our kids, when they come through the door, that's pretty much the first thing they want is new shoes. And so we're just kind of honoring them by wearing the kicks for the kids. And so you get to come to that. Tickets, you have to buy tickets by April 30th. So make sure if you want to be there,
get it out there, people. Purchase
tickets. You can get a table. I'm just letting you know it is so much fun. And we've had a lot of good feedback saying we're set apart from other galas that have happened out there in the community. And so I was blown away last year by the community that came out to support us. It was a beautiful evening. So I just encourage you if you want to come. It's a networking opportunity.
You get tickets?
fosterandheart.org/gala.
Okay, fosterandheart.org.
Yep.
Right. And that's with the spelling out or is it?
Yeah, you spell out and.
Because you have the plus on
that's
Instagram.
More like our logo
I know. I get nervous. I'm like, is it I don't know.
No, that's our more like look, but it's
fosterandheart.org, not .com.
Nope, .org.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, come out, join us. It's going to be so fun.
May 10th.
And it's for a good cause. All the money goes back into helping us support kids in care.
Kate, I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
This is the third time I've had the pleasure to speak with you, and every time gets better. I just appreciate what you do for the community and what you do for Idaho.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Let's do this again.
Yes, for sure.